And I'm going to start by introducing Karen Stefaniak, right here on my left. Karen is my client, and we are doing a project at the University of Kentucky called Nursing Excellence the UK Way. And the one thing I have to tell you about this, which is most interesting, I think, is how Karen found me was on the AI Commons. So if you know about the AI Commons at Case Western, she learned about appreciative inquiry at a meeting, a professional meeting. She got interested in it. Then she was selected for a Robert Wood Johnson Fellowship and began to think about a project that she would do with her nursing department of 1,600 nurses at the University of Kentucky Hospital. So she started on the web, as she is quite proficient, to look for an appreciative inquiry consultant. And I had posted some of my material of work in nursing on the AI Commons. So I did that with the intent of sharing it with colleagues. I didn't expect that I would get calls from prospects, and that's what happened. So that was August 4th, 2003, and we are now in the middle of a pretty major inquiry, which Karen will tell you about. So that's Karen. Do you want?
I'll introduce Rodrigo again. I mentioned Rodrigo yesterday in the story where he just decided to shut down the entire factory and the whole Nutrimental Foods and bring everybody together. Just a remarkable leader, remarkable sense of where the whole field of leadership and management is going. Since his work with his leadership as CEO and founder of Nutrimental, he's been invited to many different levels of leadership now in society. President Lula's Social and Economic Council, and then most recently appointed president of FEAPE, which is an association of about 8,000 businesses. And he provides, it's like a campus, it's huge, it's like a major university to provide leadership, education, and so on for the 8,000 businesses. Just a remarkable human being. When we developed the United Religions Initiative with 250 centers around the world to foster dialogue between different faiths, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, and so on, he and his team from Nutrimental came to help facilitate those sessions throughout Brazil and South America. So anyway, just a great, great person, and look forward to the stories. And Bob Stiller, many of you know, was and also just quite an extraordinary leader in the whole corporate social responsibility field, and he'll go into that, I'm sure, in terms of what they're doing around the world and fair trade leadership for coffee growers that live in economies that are very fragile with price changes. Whole communities can be wiped out. So his work in that area has been pioneering. You might have seen him featured on Frontline, a major documentary that was done on their organization, Green Mountain's work. He's Forbes Entrepreneur of the Year a couple years ago, named as one of the top 200 fastest growing companies in America. And it's just been a real honor to get to know Bob, and I hope he speaks a little bit about it too. His whole emphasis on self-development and consciousness and meditation and things like that. And then Bob Stahl, a colleague, a great leader from president of Roadway Express. Roadway is one of the largest trucking companies in America. So we shared a little bit about that yesterday. Bob is, if you've read the book by Collins called Good to Great, I would call Bob a level 5 leader. And he defines a level 5 leader as, you know, his stunning finding in the leadership studies that he did, or the major studies that he did on going from good to great, is that the companies that go from good to great, it's not at all what we think about this myth of the great kind of charismatic TV personality kind of leader, but it's someone who is capable of bringing out that leadership in everybody around them. And it's just been stunning to watch Bob in the midst of a crowd of 500 people and the kind of leadership that happens in the room. You know, the level 5 leadership is described as great humility, but tremendous determination and will. And it's a tough industry that he's in, and comes from a real financial background. Prior to his presidency, spent time focusing on just acquisitions and mergers and major new business opportunities, but is now creating a corporate turnaround in terms of building a culture with leadership at every level. And it's just been a privilege to know each of you and to work with you.
Karen?
Are we ready?
We're ready, and I'm back here doing this because the remote got burned out, and so the remote is me. So
And she also tells us that we each have 12 minutes.
Thank
So 12. So she's going to let us know about that.
okay.
Okay, go ahead. Let's move right on along here. Just let me tell you just a minute what we have in Lexington, Kentucky, so you'll know what I was working with. First of all, we are a university, and the hospital is very much a part of the university and a medical center. We have 473 beds, which means we're about a moderate-sized facility. We're obviously a referral center, level 1 trauma center, provide quaternary care. And the last bullet says 1,600 magnet nurses. That's important. What that means is we've been given a designation. There are only, at this time, there were only 38 nursing services out of 6,000 that exist in the United States that had been awarded this status. And what that means, and it's important for you to understand this as we move along here, is that the nurses have a pretty wonderful environment to work in so that they can truly do good work. And that's what this is all about, even though there are standards upon standards upon standards. Bottom line, we just allow nurses to do good work and facilitate that. Okay, so why did I get involved in this AI thing? Well, I did hear about it, fell in love with it immediately. And then, as it happens, I was awarded the Robert Wood Johnson Fellowship. Part of the responsibility of that is to conduct a project of which they pay. So I really wanted to make a difference in my organization, but let's remember, we really weren't broken, okay? Number 2 says the nursing shortage. Well, I think probably everyone in the room knows there's such a thing as an international nursing shortage. Frankly, at UK, we didn't have much of one, but I wanted to make sure that we didn't. We had around a 4 to 6% vacancy rate when the national average was anywhere from 14 to 20. So we were doing pretty well. But I didn't want mediocrity, as Susan always points out to me that I told her when I called her on the phone. Perception is reality. Now, what's that all about? Well, even though I'm telling you what a great place UK is, the nurses didn't seem to understand that. You know, sometimes we leaders just don't quite know what's going on. So as it happens, even though these people are self-governed, they make their own schedules, we close beds to make sure we have adequate numbers of nursing, and you money people know what that must mean in terms of loss of revenue and making people rather angry. All these wonderful things that were there, the nurses didn't seem very happy to me. And when I would see them leaving work, they did not at all seem happy. So I wanted to fix that. And then apathy. I just felt like we were happy with mediocrity, and I wasn't. So seemed AI was perfect. So what were our goals? Well, first of all, what we wanted to do is we wanted the nurses to learn AI so they could use it in their various activities. We wanted to change or reframe the UK way. That's why the title is Nursing Excellence the UK Way. In our organization, and actually all over the university, UK way means bureaucracy, things move slow, you don't have what you need when you need it, and that's not what a university should mean, and that's not what a magnet nursing organization should mean. So we wanted to reframe that. And we wanted to give nurses time to tell stories and to listen, because I knew the apathy would just disappear if they had time to appreciate each other. Our goals, of course, we had to have something to measure. Robert Wood Johnson told me I did. Improve nurse retention, increase nurse recruitment, improve nurse satisfaction, improve patient satisfaction, and improve manager satisfaction. And we already had baselines for those pieces of data. Okay. The process, well, after I did some pre-work and introduced the AI to many of the nursing leaders, I thought, I need help. I really don't know how to do this. So I found Susan, as she explained, on the internet. She immediately, I hired her on the phone, by the way, sight unseen. I liked her a lot. I still do. It's wonderful to have someone that cares so much, and she's not a nurse, about something that I'm so passionate about. So we've been quite a team, I think. She immediately carted me off and one of my colleagues to Taos to hear Diana and Jim, so we learned quite a bit in that week. We developed a core team, of course. We followed the whole process that is described in the books. Our core team is made up of staff nurses, 30. Susan had told me that one of the problems she had run into with other clients is that everybody, especially management, wants to be, they want to know what's going on. So we developed something a little different that's not in the books. In addition to a core team, we had AI partners. And those were members of my leadership team that really helped learn the process and then teach the core team. And then, of course, we developed a timeline, which is, we need to move, okay. 12 minutes, remember. Okay. In November's when we really started, and with the pre-discovery, of course, was the core team and that sort of thing. And then the discovery method or portion of this has been the storytelling. We are still in the process of that. And if you want to, you moved on, thank you, Susan. That's okay. The selected topics that the core team came up with, what we were going to study for the next year, the art of nursing. And by the way, there are slides in the book, copies of the slides if you want to look at them later. I'm not going to read all of these, but I do want to read the first one, and it's because I think it is quite poetic, and a group of staff nurses that I see taking care of patients, I don't think they think of themselves like this usually. They said to them that nursing care is an art at its very best. What we do with our minds, hearts, and hands is truly beautiful. We paint with brushstrokes of compassion, weave tapestries of comfort, and sculpt an environment of caring beyond technology for our patients, their families, and often for one another. At UK, this is the art of nursing. Isn't that lovely? I think it's lovely. They also wanted to study teamwork. And number 3, they wanted to study magnet nursing. Do you know, I found out during this core team inquiry that the nurses did not know or care or seem to realize that they're special and that they're magnet nurses. And the reason is because what we do every day, we wrote down, we sent to the people that grant you this status. They visited us, but the nurses felt like this was business as usual. That was the apathy. They didn't understand how good they really are. So we felt like we needed to study magnet nursing. And they, as you can see, they defined it in the following way. Okay, let's go on. They also wanted to talk about celebrating, because we don't take time to do that. And they also wanted to study humor, because they said laughter sometimes is the best medicine. Humor allows us to deal with sad situations, job stress, and enables us to relax and enjoy our patients, their families, and each other. And one of the themes that has come out with each of the inquiries is that they do want to understand, appreciate, and support each other. That comes out each and every time. That's important because in nursing, we often talk about how we eat our young. It's in the literature, and the nurses at UK want to change that. Second phase, the summit. We are planning that now. As a matter of fact, we're holding 2 summit meetings in October. We can't just close down the place because we have to take care of patients. We want to take care of patients. That's what we do. So we're going to have several summits, and then we'll probably have a summit of summits in January. And those are being planned right now. Participation, so far we've had around 400 nurses participate in the inquiries, the workshops. Each is 3 hours long. Getting nurses away from the bedside with all the demands of patient care is quite a challenge. We also included stakeholders, and we are in our core team, and we're interviewing stakeholders. We've had a lot of interest. We've had a lot of physicians, the leadership group, the Magnet people. I'm presenting at a Magnet conference. The dean of the dental school, very interested, wants to know more about it. And each and every time I talk about it, the one person in the audience that has the most questions is the dean of the medical school. So I have a feeling I'm going to be hearing from him. Outcome measures, well, obviously we're not finished, and I think that's an important statement. I don't want us to ever be finished. This is a project that had a beginning, but in my mind, it will have no end. But we will look at our numbers that existed before, and then we will measure them on a regular basis. I did want to see about the nursing vacancies and see where we are. And we were, when we started, about a 6% vacancy rate, and we're now at 4%. The turnover was 10%, and now it's 8%. And we have not redone the last 3 measures yet. Some of the nurses' comments. They tell us that these inquiries, they've brought back pride. They've rediscovered the joy of nursing. The strongest thing at UK is teamwork. Almost every story talks about teamwork. This is great. I know I'm going to survive. That was from a brand new nurse who really had had a rough day. New understanding of one another. Negativity sucks the life out of us. Same care in different parts of the hospital, just at different times in different places. Wow. Nursing services is very special. Nice to live outside my area. The experience has been a big boost. I may be able to deal more effectively with negative people now. This needs to go on indefinitely, and it stimulated me to come up with new ideas to brighten my patients' days. So they found ways that this was going to facilitate caring for patients. And of course, I have pages and pages and pages of these. Now, the challenge is being AI. As I said, I don't want this to end. I want to see nurses smile as they go about their daily work. Obviously, I want to have all the nurses we need. I want the quality that we need. It is more important to mention that not having nurses is a huge issue in terms of quality. It's a huge issue in terms of money. The literature tells us that it costs $45,000 to $65,000 each time a nurse turns over. So if we need a financial case, Robert Wood Johnson told me I did. So I did one, and it was quite elaborate. However, I think that one fact tells the story. If I could prevent one nurse from leaving, I saved $45,000 to $65,000. I think that's incredible. Okay, we have a few pictures of some of the murals, just so you can see some of their artwork. Just flip through those, and we'll see if there's any. Wait, we're going to stop on this one just for 1 minute. I do want to tell you, if I've got time, a couple stories. The picture there with the cross, it's a Whirlpool tub there. These are the kinds of stories nurses told me. We had a patient, had cancer, was in our Markey Cancer Center. The patient wanted to be baptized. The faith of this patient suggested that the baptism had to be by immersion. So the nurse packed up the patient, got some of her colleagues, took them over to the hospital, which is another building, put them in the burn tub. They had the minister there, put them in the burn tub, and the patient was indeed baptized. Those stories Those kinds of things aren't in books. They don't tell, there's no procedure for that kind of thing. There's no policy for that kind of thing. It's just that nurses do these things because they're the right things to do. And by sharing those things with each other, they actually had time to just sit back and say, aren't we wonderful? And I think I'm going to be saving that one nurse and a lot more. Okay, flip through. Just some of their artwork. You can see teamwork come through. The metaphors mostly talk about teamwork. This line is, these are not patients necessarily, although they did say they wanted us to have all the patients that we could handle, but these are nurses waiting in line to get a job at UK. Go ahead, you can just flip through those. Go back to that other one. Sorry. That one I think is really interesting in terms of the AI because the center there is nursing, and it talks about the spirit and positivity and then the ripple effects as it reaches out to their colleagues, to all members of the team, and to the community, the patients, the families. The UK way. Now, I'll just tell you one more story if I've got time. Do I have time? Okay. This one is a patient. I'll read this. A patient was a young mother of 5. She had terminal ovarian cancer. Her dearest wish was to see her oldest child graduate, but she knew she was not going to be able to do that or see her others graduate. She approached the doctor, the nurse did, and said, we need to somehow facilitate this. So they went to the school. They arranged where, now this woman was in bed with all sorts of pumps, equipment, ventilator, just everything. Found